Hi, it's Justin here. Welcome back. Haven't had much time to create much content so far this year, and late last year it's been very busy with renovation going on and a lot of other stuff as well. So I haven't had that much time, and also there just hasn't really been that much going on. In the middle of winter, everything slows down. And yeah, I haven't had that many things coming into bloom, but I've got a couple of beauties here. So the Cattleya Valentina on the right has already been in bloom for some time. It's coming, yeah, I think it's at its peak now, perhaps. And next to that, we've got a Persepolis dalnustum. It's a primary hybrid of Dalanatii and venustum, I believe, the alba form of venustum. So it does have some really nice marbling on the pouch, although not as much as on venustum itself. But yeah, looking really nice there with the winter sun streaming in through the window. But yeah, I thought it would be nice this time to take a look at how my Lucke haul is going from 6 months ago. Karen posted recently, she also had a haul about the same time, and I think we've got one or two plants the same there, so interesting to compare and see how they're going. So let's take a look at that. Alright, so the other one which has just opened up this week is this Persepolis bronze maiden. I know that some other people are also growing this one. Mary in the UK is growing this one, and hers has beautiful pink flowers, but mine are more of a yellowish, creamy sort of background. Not as nice, I would dare say, and the flowers are also a bit smaller. This is the first blooming on this plant. It has kind of struggled a little bit to get established. I think maybe last year in the greenhouse it was a little bit too hot, so I might try growing it in the house this year, a little bit more moderate conditions. Getting blinded by the sun while I'm taking this makes it a little bit hard to see what's actually on the camera, but yeah, it's a nice one, but yeah, if I compare it to Mary's plant, it's a little bit disappointing perhaps. So I guess time will tell if this will be a keeper or not. I'll keep it for at least another year or two. It does have a very nice fragrance. It's not an overly sweet fragrance, but yeah, I quite like it. Alright, so first up, this is a little Cattleya Cerulia. It's a Cerulea by Tipo. Tipo is the standard coloured form. This one did put out a little root here at the end of autumn. And yeah, I think it's, well, maybe not setting the world on fire, but it does have a new growth coming out here. So I think it's getting established, and I think this one's going to be fine. Alright, so this is another one from the haul, and this one's a Cattleya amethysta glossa. It's another Cerulea form. This one also did put out some roots, which are now looking a bit sick. It also was growing a new shoot, which is very slowly maturing. Of course, if these plants are coming from Brazil, they'll be a bit confused about the season and everything. So yeah, patience is required to get the roots onto the plants. That's the first thing. And the second thing is the growth, but this growth here, I think it's pretty good, all things considered. And the interesting thing about these bifoliates is that once the stem has reached its full length, the leaves can continue to grow for some time, and they can get quite a bit larger over time if you give a good watering regime with the drying in between. I think is quite important, especially at this time of year. So I let them dry out for about a week, just watering them about once a week, especially if they're not in active growth. So these ones are in the house at the moment, so it's quite a bit warmer in here than in the greenhouse. And see the greenhouse out there. So the ones which look like they were struggling a little bit, I've decided to bring them into the house where it's a bit warmer. So this one and Cerulea are in the house, as is the next one I'm going to show. And the next one is Violacea, Cattleya Violacea. This was the striata form. I hope it's not on the label, but that was what I ordered. This is the one with the glossy leaves. I said I was going to repot it into a smaller pot, but when I took it out, the root system was quite extensive and in pretty good condition. So I decided to keep it in the pot as is. And yeah, I've got this indoors as well. These Violaceas are amongst the warmest growing Cattleyas, so yeah, it's better to give them a bit more warmth in the winter if possible. And for me, indoors is a fair bit warmer than what I keep the greenhouse at, especially now that I've got floor heating here and a heat pump as well. So with the heat pump, they say not to let the temperature drop too much at night time. I don't know if that's going to be a problem with some of the plants preferring to have a good difference between the day and night temperature, but I think for those plants they'll have to go into the greenhouse if that's really a priority. But I think during these winter months they do appreciate a bit more warmth, some of them, especially the seedlings. I've still got a lot of Cattleyas out in the greenhouse where it's now, I've got it set at 13 degrees. So yeah, we can take a look out there. That's 13 degrees at night, of course, and during the day 19 degrees was what I meant to say in the greenhouse. I just thought, in case you're curious how the renovation turned out, give you a quick little look. So this is the extension here. You can see a lot of glass, very high windows with a big skylight there as well. So obviously a lot of good room space for growing orchids. So I just need to convince my wife to allow me to buy some more of these shelves, and then they'll be full of orchids in here. So isn't that great? Lots of space there. This is sorry, bit of a mess, but yeah, this is what it's looking like at the moment. So big improvement for us, the obligatory island in the middle. But yeah, sorry, bit of a diversion there. So this is another Cattleya from the Lucke haul last September. So 5 months ago, Valentina, Cattleya Valentina. This one is regarded as being a bit tricky to grow. And there's not much information about it, exactly why that would be the case. But it did try to put out some root growth, and then it started looking a bit dehydrated, but this growth is looking okay, and I've brought it into the house where I can just give a bit closer eye on it and try to keep it perfectly hydrated, which means watering it on exactly the day that it needs to be watered. I found Cattleyas can respond quite well to that. So just as the medium is just starting to dry out, then water it. If you let it go for a few days more, or if you water it too early, then that can cause some problems. Usually letting it go for a few days more wouldn't be too much of a problem, but with the seedlings I think they do prefer to be watered bang on time. So that's what I'm trying to do with this one, and we'll see how it goes. Right, so out in the greenhouse finally, and I do apologise for the leaf blowers. This is a leaf blower neighbourhood, and this is also the time of year, I guess, when the weather is a bit nice, people get out there and start blowing leaves around all over the place. So I do apologise for that in the background. But yeah, still on the topic of that Lucke haul, which coincided with the haul with which Karen made in Gothenburg in Sweden. Yeah, so this is the Cattleya lobata Cattleya Jenny, and I know this is the one that Karen also got a hold of, and yeah, you can see this is doing very well. So I've got this under the lights, and these do grow lithophytically primarily, I believe, in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, around that area. I think they climb to the cliffs on the Mount Sugarloaf or something like that, overlooking Rio. But yeah, the root growth has been really good on this one, and the leaf has extended. These are very closely related to Laelia or Cattleya purpurata, take your pick. So the culture, I think, is fairly similar. Can take a bit cooler conditions, so I can keep it out here in the greenhouse through the winter, and it doesn't skip a beat. And what else can I say? Not a great deal. Keeping it under the lights, so they do like a lot of light, so compared to purpurata, this one needs more light in order to bloom. At least that is the recommendation. And the other one which I got in that haul is this little Labiata Cerulea, Cerulea by Cerulea, little seedling, also doing very well. You can see the roots there climbing around in the bottom of the pot, though those roots are all new. Didn't have any really much roots on it when I got it, so yeah, that's looking really good, and hopefully it is a bit shriveled, so I probably need to up the water, and that's one of the things with growing under the lights. It does tend to dehydrate them a little bit, so I need to compensate that a bit. And with the Cattleya Cerulia, that was the reason why and also the amethysta glossa, took them into the house. They were looking a bit sad and sorry out here, a bit dehydrated. In the house I can keep a closer eye on them anyway, and a bit warmer temperatures, and not with the intense light of the Mars Hydro drying them out. Right, so it's all coming back to me now. I'm just starting to realise I did have quite a few plants in that haul. So this one, Cattleya amenvilleriensis, bit of a mouthful, Mendelii by Warscewiczii. This one has grown some roots. He's growing roots as we speak. Got a couple of green root tips in there. So I think this one's going to be fine, and it's hydrated and just generally looking good. And then there was the bonus plant here, which is this one, Landate Tigrina by Tigrina. Yeah, Landate is a hybrid. I think it might be a primary hybrid. And this is a bifoliate. It has grown a pretty good sized root, which now has stopped growing. But hopefully it will start growing again. It's got some more roots in there that have grown. And yeah, I put it into this outer pot it was just drying off a bit too fast. So this outer pot just keeps the moisture a bit more intact for a little bit longer to stop it from drying out too fast. Alright, and the next one we can take a look at is Cattleya Persepolis. Splendor is the clonal name, and you can see this one hasn't skipped a beat really. Quite good root growth going all over the place. Got it in a mesh pot hanging up in the greenhouse. The Cattleyas really seem to like this, and these bulbs were a bit shriveled at some point, but they're now plumping up, the old bulbs. So yeah, now the focus will turn to the new growths, making sure that they can reach a good size. So you can see this, I mean, this is a growth through winter, coming out of Brazil, opposite season, and it's still able to push out a growth like this. So it might flower this year, or otherwise next year, I guess. They do need to sync with the seasons. That can set them back a bit, but you can just see how easy it is to get these ones going. And this one is a hybrid of a whole bunch of unifoliate Cattleyas all bunched in together, and really nice flowers. So I think that this will be a nice one. That's where I'm keeping it, hanging it up high in the greenhouse at this moment, next to a veranda, so it gets good light and good air movement. And I'm now watering this one twice a week because it is very free draining. Try to plump those pseudobulbs back up. Maybe interesting to also take a look at this one. It's Cattleya dupriana. It's a primary hybrid of, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's also Varshavicii by something or other. And this was from the I think from another haul earlier last year. So this has gone a bit further, and you can see the root growth is really pretty strong. And if I push this pot, it's rock solid with roots. And these are the growths which have come out last year and are still coming out now, maturing. These two here, and there's another one on top somewhere. I think this leaf here. Is it this one? Yeah, that must be it. This one, a bit hard to get it in shot there. So yeah, this is growing like crazy. This plant has already flowered prior to my owning it in Brazil then, I guess. But yeah, it's really pretty easy to get them going if you've got the basic right conditions. And I wouldn't go as far to say that I'm a brilliant Cattleya grower, but I have watched a lot of the videos of Stephen Van Kempen, Lewis and Karen and other people on YouTube, and it's helped me a lot to be able to grow these plants. And yeah, so this is the reward. While I'm out here, let's take a quick look at the paphs, which are all in bud at the moment. So I've got quite a collection of them going here. And yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm growing quite a bit cooler out here compared to the house. So 13 degrees at night, so centigrade obviously, and 19 degrees during the day at the moment. Whereas the house is more like 18 to 21 degrees, so that's quite a big difference. So some of these paphs I think really do appreciate a cooler winter, also with good light. Doesn't have to be super intense, not like Cattleyas, but a good bit of light, not too dark. And then they mature and it triggers them to bloom, I think. So yeah, I've shown these before, but you can see now how they're progressing, the 4 buds. So we've got Venustum mejosianum, or the alba form, semi-alba form, what you will, of Venustum here. And next to that we've got Vietnamense, the fabled Vietnamense, which considered to be rather difficult, but seems to be doing okay. Got no ID hybrid here that's like a barbatum type, sort of a vinny colour, darker coloured ones I think, but we shall see when it opens. Next to that we've got not gold dollar, Pedro's moon. Beautiful hybrid with Armeniacum in it, and that was already flowering on this one when I got it. It fell off. I brought it out here, and now the other flower is developing on the other growth quite well. But in the meantime, some of my other paphs are also showing signs of coming into bloom. So this Delenatii rosea here looks to me like it's coming into bloom. Those leaves, I thought this was going to be the bloom, but it turned out not to be. But I can see another small leaf in there, and I think I can see a little flower bud in there. We'll have to wait and see on that one. And this one here also looks like it's got a flower bud in it. This is oh no, it's Kopovits, Linley Kopovits. So this is a what's it called again? I've got it over here. It's a hybrid with Malipoense. Yeah, so this is Malipoense by comparison. Not yet blooming size, but that's also growing very well. And yeah, I've also got the big one here, Berenice, Paphiopedilum Berenice, and I know that Mary in London also has this one, and this is coming into bloom. So this is the second time it'll be blooming for me. It's a pretty big plant. It's I think it's a primary hybrid of Philippinensis and Lowii. A very easy growing plant, but it's a very easy growing, perhaps one of the easiest of the multifloral hybrids, and this was also available at a very reasonable price. I've had it for a couple of years now, and it's just grown so easily. I think you can grow it cooler or warmer. It just grows. It can take really a lot of light, certainly Cattleya levels of light, same as Philippinensis in that regard. I think that was my experience last year. But I've got it out here in the greenhouse where it would be for Philippinensis, it would be too cool at this time of year. I've got Philippinensis indoors at the moment, but this very happily coming into bloom, and lots of little kikes growing on it. So it'll be nice to show that one when it comes into flower. This is my Dendrobium gloomaceon. It has only one flower spike on it, but I do think what's also very attractive on this one are the, I'm not sure what you call them, the sheaths on the growths. Very beautiful in their own right, and this plant is just going crazy, as is the plant behind it, which is a Gongora. So this is going to develop in, looks like it could be developing into a specimen plant, judging by the size of the growths that have come out this winter. So this one does prefer intermediate conditions, not too bright, not too hot. Can go out, probably go outdoors in summer. I think, I can't recall if I did that last year or not, but I think I'm going to try it this year, because in the greenhouse in summer, all of the growths were just aborting. I think it was too hot, too bright, but it certainly has recovered very well. Right, well, there's a lot more going out here, too much to mention really, so I think I'll just bring it to an end now, but thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon.